What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Batter's Eye. Today, I'm happy to have a new member of the Chicago White Sox. I'll let him introduce himself, but he was their third round draft pick. Without further ado, tell us a little bit about yourself because you can do it much better than I can.
Yeah, so what's up, guys? I'm Blake Larson. Like you said, I was drafted by the White Sox here 2024. I attended IMG Academy, graduated from there, and just excited to be on the podcast.
Yeah, so like like you said, you went to IMG, one of the most well-known high school prep schools in the country. But talk about obviously it's more for the sports side, but let's talk about what is that like because they have some of the best facilities, the best coaches, the best trainers, and then obviously the teammates that you're playing with and the guys that you're playing with improve you as a player as well. So what was that like being able to develop there and what are some of the stuff that you can take with you from there to the next level?
Yeah, so being from Iowa, there's baseball down there. It's not the Florida level, but getting down to IMG, I think, was one of the best decisions that my family and I have made. Like you said, have a lot of great facilities. Like I could point out the lifting area. I mean, we have a 10,000 square foot lifting gym. It's really good to get in an atmosphere like that. Get around the people that are willing to share their knowledge day in and day out. That can actually help you. And then just getting around the teammates is a good thing. Surrounding yourself with the best players in the country that's only going to bring your game up and feel like being a leader that I am and getting around those guys, I can kind of generate what they're learning and know kind of how they go in and day in and day out.
Yeah, and so I've seen some pictures. Obviously, Dan and his crew came in and did a lot of videos touring IMG and
Mm-hmm.
doing that. But you hit on the lifting aspect of it. What were those, team lifts like, whether they're like position group oriented, but what take us through
Yeah.
a day of what it was like at IMG. I mean, maybe you do it like when school wasn't in session. What's a day like where, primarily just focused on baseball and like what's the schedule kind of looking like?
Yeah. So out of school, I would go get lunch. Lifting would start about 1:30. Tend to get in there about 12:45, 1 o'clock, get in the training room. Just kind of get all the treatment you need done beforehand, just so your body's feeling ready to go. But team lifts in the fall were they were more or less in your position. So pitchers went and did their lifts at a certain time, and then hitters were divided into groups. They did their lifts at a certain time, and it was a great thing. We really pushed ourselves hard during the fall. Really got after it, and you know, pitchers we did a little bit different lifts than the position players did. But it was all based on like what our specific position needed.
Yeah. So now to talk about more on the field stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously the highest level team at IMG plays some of the best competition in the country.
Yeah.
So the travel schedule, the game schedule, the practice schedule, I mean, how not necessarily grueling, but how intense is it? And, maybe for the guys that are looking to play college ball or some guys that are looking at high school ball and looking to transfer to a prep school, what is the
Yeah.
school like? And maybe if you know what it would compare to, so guys may have an idea if they're looking to kind of go to forward their game there.
Yeah, so IMG is really laid back. Like it's all kind of based on you and what you want to do and how good you want to develop yourself. So on field, like you said, I mean the competition is really good compared to a lot of other schools. For instance, my old school, we played in Iowa, not the best competition compared to Florida, but yeah, no, it's really laid back. I would kind of compare it to my first couple of days here with the White Sox. It's been really laid back. I mean, you get to do what you want to do, but at the same time, the coaches are there for you and they're going to push you when you need it. So, anyone looking to get like transferred into a school like IMG or wanting to go to IMG, I would recommend it. You know, it's expensive, but it's well worth it if you put your time and energy in.
Yeah, as we've seen, obviously, the work paid off, especially for guys like you and a lot of guys that have come through that system. So now let's get into kind of what the draft process was like. Obviously, I know there's a lot of things that players can't talk about, a lot of numbers, a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. But what was it like leading up to the draft, if you participated in the draft combine and then going into all these workouts and meetings with the teams? Can you kind of run down that process and what maybe your best takeaways or your the most positive things and some of the more difficult or negative things out of that? Not necessarily
Yeah.
negative in a way, but you know.
Yeah. So the draft process kind of started for me in the fall of 2023. IMG did a good job of surrounding me around a lot of pro scouts. But come a month before season, that's when it really started to get heavy. Teams would reach out, want to know when I was pitching. So I just day in and day out, I was trying to do as best as I could, go out and show them what I had. And you brought up a good question. What was probably my favorite thing about it, and then the hardest thing about it? Favorite thing about it is just getting to know some different people and getting to share your story to these teams, because if they're wanting to invest a lot of money into you, they want to get to know you as a person. So I think it was kind of cool for me to get to share my story to people that, hey, maybe he's a little scary because he's a scout. No, it was they were really laid back, like, hey, I just want to know you. So that was pretty awesome. Kind of the hard part was, a couple of days leading up to the draft, like you don't know where you're going to go. You don't know how much money you're going to get in my situation. So it was a type thing where, I was just kind of stressed out a little bit, like day in and day out. I was having conversations with my agent, talking to him, seeing what he's thinking, seeing what we're hearing. And ultimately, the day came, first day, the balance round of round two, and my name got called, and it was best moment of my life.
Yeah. And so that's first of all, like I've spoke obviously I messaged you and congratulated you, but of course that's huge. I'm going to talk about that on the podcast. Congratulations. It's a huge accomplishment to get drafted, especially at the young age that you are. And so, like you said, no one really knows where you're going, and it's a whole money thing. A lot of people don't understand the draft in terms of the slot value and the bonus pools and everything. But for a guy like you who had a commitment to play at TCU, if I'm not mistaken, you were
Yep.
going to go there, and obviously one of the best baseball schools in the country. Not to say like I'm not asking you what a number is, but what are conversations like going into the draft where it's like, hey, if I get picked outside of here, like, are there conversations like that going on even during the draft, like where you're thinking of, hey, I might withdraw my name and go to school, and like you see a lot of guys, William Schmidt, one of the top prep arms, the day of the draft actually
Yeah.
withdrew his name and announced that he was going to attend LSU. And you saw even some of the guys that didn't get picked on day one ended up announcing that they're going to withdraw and go to college. A lot of people don't understand the slot value, and I'm not going to get into that whole thing now, but what's that kind of like going through in your head when you see some things go off the board? And obviously, this draft was quite unpredictable. A lot of things
Hmm.
happened at the top.
Yeah.
Not many people would have really expected, and it's shocked a lot of people. But what are things going around? What are conversations, whether between that's with you and your agent or just thoughts that are going through your head, like, hey, like, is it better if I go to TCU? Like, where does that kind of fall into things as you're seeing things unfold in the draft?
Yeah. So you brought up a good point with Schmidt. He it's I feel like it's kind of where your heart is, and I don't personally know the reason why Schmidt pulled out or what happened, but he's a hell of a ball player, and I think he made the right decision, whatever he feels. But yeah, no, the question comes down to, am I going to get my number? There's always a chance you can get your number, even going into the 20th round. Yeah, is it less likely for a high school guy with a little higher number to get it? Yeah, but at the same time, you can always get that call. So it doesn't really come down to what pick you're going to be. I mean, you do see some guys that are, if I don't go first round, I'm not going to get my money. I'm going to drop out. Personally, I think what I had going for me, I think I was going to continue to stay in the draft and give myself a chance. But there's a lot of other guys, like you mentioned, that pulled out after day one. And all respect to them. They're going to go have a amazing, hopefully amazing college career and get to experience what I experienced that day. But it was my draft was pretty calm. Going into the day, my agent was like, "Hey, I mean, it's a possibility the White Sox could be today. We can maybe get your number," and it happened. So I didn't really have to go through the thoughts of, "Hey, maybe I don't get my number. Do I drop out after day two or this and that?" But I definitely know what my my peers and my buddies were feeling in that situation, and I think they all made the right decision on whatever that decision was.
Yeah, and of course, in all respect to them, if they see this, I know a couple guys watch, and I know a couple guys that I've spoke to that did end up going to college. Some guys I did speak to that ended up taking what they got in the draft, and congratulations to all of them. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that don't really understand the whole slot value thing, to break it down, for a high school guy to get swayed away from his commitment to college takes a little more than a college guy that is looking to get drafted, because for them
Yeah,
to go back it just takes away years that an MLB team can have them. So when you're young, to ask for a little more means a lot more for a pro team, because they get a lot more time with you. They get to develop
yeah,
they want to.
100%.
And so that's a little breakdown of it, just for those of you who might be watching that don't fully get that. So the next thing I want to ask is, besides the baseball player, outside of the baseball player, as the person, Blake Larson, what do the White Sox organization, what do White Sox fans get from you? What is something that you can bring to the team?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great question, and this is the type of question that I was so excited to share in the meetings and whatnot. But yeah, off the field, I feel like I'm a great person. I'm able to connect with guys on a different level. I actually just mentioned this yesterday to my mom. I was like, you know what, I'm a pretty talkative kid, and if someone is in this organization, they're not as talkative, they're just as nervous as I am. I'm gonna go talk to them and make it easy for them to have someone that they can rely on, who they can go to whenever they need it. So the White Sox fans are getting not only a ball player, but a great person that, a role model for all their kids and just whoever watches.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I appreciate, the fact that you even thought about that yesterday, because guys, this is not planned. I told them the question. I didn't even tell them the questions I was going to ask. I told them the rundown of this a minute before we started filming. This is not planned. But that's a great answer. It couldn't have gone better for sure. And I completely get that. So you said that as a leader, you like to step up and be vocal. What's that going to be like? Because you might be one of the younger people in that organization, even for quite a
Yeah.
while. A lot of the guys that you're going to be playing with, your teammates, are going to be 21, 22, maybe even older. But for you to go in there and step in there as a 19-year-old, maybe even eight, are you 18, 19?
I'm 18, yeah.
So as an 18-year-old, to
Yeah.
step in there, be one of the youngest guys in all of the MLB and throughout all the levels, what's that going to be like for you to step up and really lead by example, lead and be that vocal guy? Because sometimes it takes a lot more for a young kid to be not necessarily respected, but to be heard in an organization when you're playing with guys that have had that college experience or had the pro baseball experience for a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. So what I try to do as a leader, I'm not only trying to like go out and tell people what to do, but as a leader, I'm trying to gather information. And like I said, when someone needs something, like I'm open and they can come talk to me. But being around the college guys, it helps. They've experienced some things that, as a young high schooler, I haven't experienced. So as a leader, it's just coming down to the fact that I can gather this information and I can take it to wherever I go from there, and then just share my experiences with other people. And yeah, like I said earlier, it's just someone needs to come to me. Like that's the biggest thing, is that's what I try to value, even if I am the younger guy, because you never know what someone's going through, and at the end of the day, it's always good to have someone you can rely on.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now let's focus a little bit about the on-field stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously, for those of you who don't know, you're a left-handed pitcher. So what's the what's the repertoire like? What's the pitch mix that you have going for you? And what's something that as you continue to progress through pro ball that maybe you're looking to develop and continue to get better at?
Yeah, so I throw a four seam fastball. I throw a two seam fastball, a changeup, and a slider. The slider can either be really sharp or it can be sweepy. Just kind of depends on what count I'm in and who I'm throwing it to. But yeah, no, I'm looking to continue to improve my command, develop my changeup and two seam, and just continue to develop my pitches to the level it needs to be. And I want to develop just going out there being a dog no matter what. I feel like that's going to help me throughout the system as being a younger guy. I can't take anything for granted. Can't make excuses while I'm the young guy. I just need to go out there and compete and act like, everyone's the same age and just show what I got. So, yeah.
Yeah. So now I'll talk a little bit about the White Sox organization and what they might have planned for you if you have any idea of that, because one of the top prospects in all of baseball is another left-handed pitcher that the White Sox selected just 2 years ago out of high school, Noah Schultz, and he has been one of the best pitchers in all of minor league baseball since then. Also, with their fifth overall pick, they drafted Hagen Smith, another
Yeah.
left out of Arkansas. And so it seems like they're building something here with their left-handed pitchers. So were there any talks of what the White Sox want to, kind of get out of you and develop with you as something that they've maybe seen success with in their guys, such as Schultz and other guys, and maybe things that they saw that they liked when they drafted Hagen Smith that they liked in you as well?
Yeah, so it's really early since being down here. All we've kind of talked about right now is just at this point getting stronger, taking things slow. Because I don't have the experience the college guys do, and like you said, they have more time with me. So yeah, no, we haven't really had a sit down. It's pretty early. I think in the next week or so, we're definitely gonna like establish what's going on, and how we're gonna go about it. But they have mentioned a couple things that they do like doing, but yeah, there's really been no set plan yet. We're just going day by day, and we're gonna attack it that way.
So now I'll maybe focus because I know that obviously it's early, but maybe you have some thoughts about what you would like to learn and develop similar to what these guys have been able to develop while they're
Yeah.
whether in college or with the White Sox. But obviously you've picked up on the trend as well, and that's why they took you. Is there something that maybe when you heard that the White Sox were going to select you that was going through your head that can lead you to the same success that these guys have found?
Yeah, so there's nothing really in particular. I do like the fact that they're letting us be and they're just kind of watching how we operate as a player and they're gonna make fine tune changes. I really do like that. But yeah, no, I always knew that the White Sox past couple of years have had a really good track record with lefties and seeing them take Hagen Smith and then myself, it's definitely drawing some happiness that what they're taking lefties and they're making an effort to get them better and get them moved up. So yeah, I'm just looking to become an overall better pitcher, and I think the White Sox are going to do a great job at helping me with that.
I agree. They've had a great track record with it, especially since the Chris Sale days. So
Mm-hmm.
now something that I want to talk to you about are some goals and some future I guess ideas and thoughts that you may have for yourself. Now, obviously, the big goal in the next couple of years is to make it to the MLB, but maybe we'll start with some small goals, maybe for the next 5, 6 months. What are some of the main goals or accomplishments that you want to achieve in your next couple months, maybe next year, as you just start your journey in pro ball?
Yeah, so like I said, they're trying to take it slow with me. So, um, I just my goals are to be the hardest worker out here, be the best teammate I can be the best player that the White Sox can produce. But yeah, no, like you said, in the next year, I hope to get some experience under my belt against pro hitters. Just continue to fine tune every day and just become a better player. I mean, there's no certain goal like I want to get called up by this date. Everything's gonna take its place if I do continue to develop and get better every day. So I think that's just my focus for right now is getting at least 1% better every day.
Hmm. So now, before we go into our rapid fire, where we talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
MLB trade deadline, I do have one or two more, I guess, little questions I want to ask you. Is there a pitcher that you've modeled your game after or that you've looked up to, whether that be a former teammate of yours or a former MLB pitcher or someone that's currently playing right now? Who's someone that you like to look at and
Yeah.
say, I want to do similar things to them?
So I have kind of two guys. It's funny how you brought up Chris Sale. He was one of the guys I try to kind of model my game around a little bit. And then an old guy is Randy Johnson. Feel like I'm pretty similar to him, and he's a great pitcher. He did a great job in his career, so I feel like if I can get somewhat close to that, or even better than that, I feel like I'm going to be pretty happy. But this question gets brought up a lot. At the end of the day, you always try to be someone, recreate what they're doing. At the end of the day, I just want to be myself. I want to go out and create a legacy for myself that Chris Sale and Randy Johnson have created. So I want to be the guy on TV that kids go and watch and say, hey, I want to pitch like him. So, but Chris Sale and Randy Johnson, I would say, have had a big influence on my pitching up to this far.
That's awesome. I'm obviously two of the greatest the game has seen, especially in the recent years with Chris Sale and right before that era with Randy Johnson, the dominance
Yeah.
he provided. So my last question before we get into rapid fire is there anyone that you are looking forward to face in pro ball, whether that's someone that just got drafted recently in this past class or maybe one of your teammates in the last couple of years? I know a lot of IMG guys have been getting picked up there in the last couple of years.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm gonna give you two answers. A guy that just got drafted. I'm gonna go Travis with the first pick out of the Guardians. He's the number one pick. You're always chasing being that number one pick. You always want to compete against the best. So, and then kind of outside of where I'm at right now in the future, it's got to be Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. They say to be the best, you got to beat the best, and that right now, I want to go compete against those guys. Those are the guys that I want to surround myself with. Even if I don't succeed right away, I don't lose, I learn from it. So every failure is an opportunity to learn. And I think being around those guys and competing around those guys would only take my game to the next level.
Honestly, I was expecting like an answer like one of your teammates or like a Noah. I was not expecting that, and I love that answer because those are two of the best guys in the game right now, MVP candidates for
Absolutely.
the next years to come. So now, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the trade deadline upcoming. This is
Mhm.
being filmed on Monday the 22nd, so it's a week before the deadline. So, a couple questions that I have for you. I just made a video about this yesterday, but it's been swirled around that Jackson Holiday may be a big name to get moved this deadline for Tariq Skubal. What are your thoughts on if he should or if the Orioles should move him for a name like that?
Yeah, so Jackson Holiday is a great guy. Don't personally know him, but I know that he's a stud of a ball player, and I think he was tearing it up in the minor leagues. He had a little rough pouch and the bigs, but I honestly think they should keep him. He's young, he's got time, and he's shown what can do in the minor leagues, and it's only going to take a little confidence for him to continue to succeed at the next level. And you know what? They surround him with an already great team. I think he's going to be a good call up if they do call him up come playoff time.
Yeah. And so my last question for you is with that being said, because I think even as a prospect, name value alone, he might have been the biggest name that could be moved in the deadline if that trade were to happen. But if you don't think that he's going to get traded, who do you think the biggest name to get moved this deadline will be?
I think okay, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would really like to see Mason Miller go to a playoff contending team. I think that would be a really cool move. He's the hardest thrower in baseball. Fans want to see it. And the Athletics, they're struggling a little bit. They have some good pieces, but I really want to see Mason Miller on a contending team and pitching in possible World Series closing opportunity, and maybe gets a little more adrenaline going, and he breaks the record for the fastest velo. I think that's exciting. So I would say Mason Miller.
You think he has that in him if he gets that adrenaline going on a contending team in a playoff situation?
You know, there's no saying what someone can do with adrenaline. You know, I think he can. I'm never going to say no. I always want to see people succeed and continue to break records. So I think he can.
That would be insane if he does. That would
Yeah.
I I'm a Chapman guy because I'm a Yankee fan. Though
Okay.
though he's done some pretty questionable things recently to make me say it. It's so not
Mhm.
recently, but overall I'm a Chapman guy.
Yeah.
But I think Mason Miller has a chance to do it. He's super young. He has time to
Yeah.
develop. He doesn't do it this year. I think he could do it within the next couple of years, hopefully,
100%.
barring any arm injuries or setbacks. Now, before I stop the recording and end the episode, is there anything you would want to say to anyone watching? Just any kid, anyone. I mean, a lot of my audience is probably younger kids looking to be in your position in a couple of years.
Say something to the White Sox fans like, hey, we're gonna get right where we need to. We got a good draft class coming in. We got some great guys. I've got to know a couple of the guys here over the last week, and it's going to be some exciting times for us White Sox. Just stay patient, be ready, and good things are to come. So,
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. This episode is going to be out real soon, guys. Be sure to go check out Blake on Instagram. I'm going to tag it, have it in the description and everything. Make sure to keep an eye on him as he progresses through the Pro Bowl ranks. And, one day we'll have you back on when you're in a White Sox
for sure,
uniform.
for sure, appreciate it.
Of course, and thank you again for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you. Of
Yep, thank you for having me.
course.